Hey everybody and welcome. In today's video we're going to go over the entire process of modeling, unwrapping and texturing a asset, namely this model. Now I made this thing in the Twitch stream, but I also posted it in the YouTube community tab. You guys said you wanted to see how this thing was made, so there it is. The general idea here was to show you how to do something like this. So a proper welding with all the discoloration and everything, but it would have been more interesting to have a model to show you on how this thing was made instead of just having a couple of bars being welded together. So there we go. We're going to start with that. And since we don't actually have a size or set size for this thing, we're going to do a bit of guesstimation and we're going to use some general sizes or sizing for this thing. So let's start from the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder here in the center, and I'm going to start with the height, which is the general height for a bar chair would probably be somewhere around 70 to 72 centimeters. So we're going to go with 72. I'm going to reduce my segments to 5, from 5 to 1, and my radius here should be about 22 to 25. So let's go with 22, like this. All right, so having this, I'm going to make everything down to 0, 0, 0. And right away, I'm actually going to hold down Shift and just create one more copy on this side so I can keep this as a reference for now. All right, so once we have this, what I'm going to do is put an edit poly on top of it, select the top and bottom, delete, and select this front side and delete. Now, I'm going to select my side edges over here, hold down Shift, and drag it out. So snap it once to here, one more time to here, third time there, and the last time up to here. So now I know for a fact that I have that same exact size for this thing. The only reason or the only difference is that this side is now open. All right, so when I take a look at this chair, I can see that the top here has a bit of a curve and the bottom as well. So the easiest way to do that would be just select the two sides here and scale them inwards like this. The two sides over here, I can also just ever so slightly move them back a bit like this. And for now, this is going to be okay. And another thing that I do want to do before I actually proceed is I want to select everything, all of the vertices that are down in the base here. And if I take a look at this chair, I can see that just ever so slightly there is a bit of a flare out. So that means that this lower portion here is a bit scaled outwards. So in order to get that in our model, what I'm going to do is just come in here and ever so slightly just scale it outwards just a tiny bit like this. So I'm going to go over in my top viewport, and now I'm going to go and make this thing like this. So now I know for a fact that my front here is going to be straight and the rest is going to be flared out a bit like we need it to be. Now what I want to do here is I want to select my border, which is going to select the whole thing going across. And from here, I want to create a shape. It can be linear for now. There we go. Now select the shape and isolate it. All right, this is exactly what I need. Now, when I go ahead and turn on the rendering and make it renderable, I can see that I get this look, and I can control how thick I want to have the bar being. I think that 2 centimeters looks more or less the right size, but at the moment I think that we need to address this portion over here because it's lacking that turning point. So the easiest way to do that would be to either add in some extra vertices, or what we can do is just select these guys, or just these ones on the top, and use a bit of a fillet on them, something like this. Or if we want to have this thing be a bit more to the center, like this, and we can either chamfer it like this, because I don't want to fillet that thing because it's going to give me way too much geometry for now, and I just want this thing to go in like this. All right, select both, wait into position. Whoop, actually no, let's do it like this. Before I do that, I'm going to move it up front and now chamfer it here. All right, awesome. The thing that we need to remember is that later on, even with this thing on, we're going to use a turbo smooth to help us drive that curve. So it's going to look much better than it is now, but for now we're just going to keep it like this. And we can start adding in some more details. Now, the next thing we want to add is we want to add these bars that are going from the top to the bottom. The easiest way to do it would be to go in here, and now with this geometry present, just select all of these edges that we want to have a bar on them, and just easily, as we did it previously, create a shape out of it, make it linear again, and just select both, isolate them, and now select the top here, the top vertices, and move them down ever so slightly like this. Select the bottom ones and move them up ever so slightly like this. The reason why we're moving them up and down is so that now we can get both of these geometries and weld them together, or basically make them look like they're welded together. And the fact that there is this small spot or some small space, it's going to give us a bit of a warping, which is going to look really, really well to sell the idea that this thing has been welded together. All right, so what I'm going to do is right away I'm going to attach both of these, and now what I want to do is, there we go, put an edit poly over here. Now in the side viewport, I want to select everything like this. So this is going to select everything on the top and delete those caps. Do the same thing on the bottom. You can go and manually do this if you want, but I prefer this way because it's a lot faster. Select everything and again, just delete. All right, so we have an open element there. Now, what we need to do is we need to add in some extra geometry here, which is going to help us cut into the overside or the upper side of this piece. So what I'm going to do is select all of these elements, or I can just do a ring selection by just selecting one, and then go ahead and deselect everything that I don't actually want to separate, which is like that. So now we have everything selected that we want to have a connection. Hit it with a chamfer. The chamfer can be like, well, we know that this thing is 2 centimeters, so let's give it a bit of a leeway. So 1.1, there we go, and 2 segments like this. Awesome. So now what we have is the ability to go in here, select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and delete. By doing this, now what we can do is select both open borders like this and bridge them together. By doing it this way, you can also check and see if the twist option is right. Yeah, there we go. So the twist now will give us a very, very clean bridge. Click OK. And what we can do here is just add in one extra line in here by holding down Shift and clicking, and just so that if anybody asks, this is the Swift Loop option. So you can find it over here. My advice always is add it to a shortcut, so you can always just go in. By holding down Shift when you press the Swift loop, it's going to make it so that this thing has a set flow applied to it. And the great thing about this is that now when we have a turbo smooth on, you're going to see that this thing welded really, really nicely and clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing on all of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, without this one, and 8. Select the border again and bridge it. When you're bridging it, always make sure that if you're bridging something like this, you don't have any issues with the twist. And the way to go around that is you open up the settings for the bridge, and if you have something like this, just go over in the twist, and you can either go left or right, and depending on how this thing was made, you can probably fix it. All right, so what I'm going to do is again add in that extra edge with the holding of the Shift, and that's going to fix that issue. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, do this thing all over this place, and then go over and do it the same way on the bottom, and I'll be back as soon as I'm done so we can continue. All right, so now I've actually went ahead and finished up the rest of the model. So as you can see that I have everything welded up together nicely up here as well as down. So when we put on a turbo smooth, you're gonna see that this thing has been welded okay. Now, the thing here that we need to do or address is that when we take a look at here, since we added in 2 extra edges on each of these points, we're getting a bit of a pinch. Now, the way to remify this or fix it is not that hard. All we got to do is just go in here, select all of these edges on one side. So you can choose either the left or the right side. And you need to understand one thing. When you're selecting this, it's going to go across the whole thing up until where it hits a corner, which is going to be here, and it's going to stop. It's not going to go on the lower side. So you can leave it like this for now. So just double click here and select it as it is. There we go. And this last one. And over here we can just add a set flow option to it, and that's going to move it. Well, I can see that this side is probably not a good choice to be moved. So set flow now. And this is going to move it in the middle. So now what we're going to do is select the other ones on the other side. There we go. Let's go across all of them. And this is the last one. Whoops. There we go, set flow. So this is going to average out the distance. So now when we take a look at the top, we're going to see that this is really just one continuous turn, doesn't have that pinching. And on the bottom side, we can see that it does have a bit of a twist or a bit of a pinch, but that's okay because we do want to keep that thing. It's going to work well for our welding once we get to it later on in Substance Painter. So let's go ahead and do the same thing down at the bottom. And here's the thing, like I said, when you double click, it goes across, it doesn't select this edge. So if you go and do it like this and you hit the set flow, this is what happens. We don't want that. So just select the one on the bottom like this. Few more. A bit of a repetitive task, but hey, nothing too hard. Set flow. Do the same with the other ones again. And by doing this, like we saw previously, it will average out the distance, and it will eliminate that pinching error that we had, or the pinching artifact that we previously saw. And it's going to give us a very, very smooth look, and that is exactly what we're going to have. So set flow. You can try and see this, but I think, yeah, this is okay. The bottom one is fine. Do the same thing over here. Set flow. And now with the turbo smooth turned on, there we go. Very, very smooth look. All right, so let's continue. If I take a look at my image, I can see that the only thing that I'm missing at the moment is this front bar over here, and then I have another one that is holding up the seat and one more extra over here. So I need 3 more bars that are going to be horizontal ones, and I do need to have the seat. So let's go ahead and end the isolate, select this element that we have here, and we're going to use this thing to extrapolate the seat. So for this, I'm just going to add in 1 extra line in here, and I'm gonna delete everything that I don't need. Now move this upwards, and just gonna make it like this, so it's like that. All right, bridge it together, cap, and now go across and connect. You can just use the connect option, which is here, or you can use a shortcut, or you can just double click or right click and hit to connect, whatever's easiest for you. For me, I have a shortcut, so that's why it's always fast. All right, having this, let's end the isolate and see. I'm gonna have to do a bit of a tweak, so just scale it inwards and move it out a bit so it's no longer intersecting. There we go. So that's fine. Let's just move some of these edges so it's a bit more in line with what I want it to be, or the size like this. Now let's go ahead, select this edge, and the one at the bottom. Since this is not about modeling the cushion, I'm just gonna try and do this thing as quickly as possible so we can focus on what's at stake, and that is the welding here. So for this, I'm just gonna hit it with a chamfer, or actually, you know what? For this, I'm gonna hit it with a turbo smooth first. See how this thing, whoop. All right, definitely not. So hit it with a chamfer of a 0.1 maybe. Yeah, 0.1 is going to work. Let's try with 2 segments. Yeah, that's going to work. That's going to try and hold the form. So turbo smooth here. Yeah, there we go. Now we get something similar to what we was kind of hoping to get. All right, put an edit poly on top, but actually before we do that, let's just give it a different value here, because this thing looks a bit too off. So 0.2. Let's try with 0.2 and see how this is going to look. Better. All right, so we can use this thing as a low poly. Also put on a edit poly on top of it now. Move some of these polygons so we get a bit of a bulge. There you go. So all of these, move them up just a tiny bit. Move this one outwards like this. And with another turbo smooth, that will give us that look. I also do want to put in one small indentation here, which is going to be where the seam is going to be. So for this, I have an ongoing spline or loop. So I can just do an extrude inwards like this. Nothing too heavy. All right, there we go, like this. So now it should give me that look, which is not that bad. Not ideal, but it's gonna work for now. All right, so as a seat, we can use this. Let's just put it in the right position. It needs to pop up a bit like this. Check the top. All right, no spacing, no problems whatsoever. Everything is fine, so we can use this. All right, let me just quickly check something. What if we go ahead and just select this one and scale them outwards just a tiny bit like this? There we go. So it's going to give me that illusion like this has been squished ever so slightly. It's a small detail, but it kind of helps sell the realism of this thing. All right, so we have this now. What I want to do is use this size for this cushion so to define where the underside or the lining pipes are going to be. So what I'm going to do is go from the front, create a line, go from one side to the other like this. And now just move this thing into position. So one is going to be over here, or it might actually be over here on this bar, and the other one is going to be here somewhere. There we go. These two are fine. Scale them inwards so they're not actually protruding through the bars. So they're like this. Make this thing smaller as well. There we go. And take one more bar like this and put it down here for the leg rest. Put it in position like this. All right, awesome. So let's select these guys and make them all part of the same thing. All right, turn off the turbo smooth. You can even delete it. And also, here's another thing you should always keep an eye out. When you have a model that has elongated polygons like this, what you want to do is generally go in and add in some connections. This is going to break up those very, very long polygons. That's going to actually help with stretching. So like this, that's fine. Now what I want to do is go in here, add one cut over here like this, and another one that's going to be in here. I want to align this here to the middle of this piece, but with the help of the edge loop so it doesn't give me any problems. Also, select all of these guys and, well, actually just put one edit poly on the first and attach the two other ones. So now it's going to treat them like they are actual geometry. So select this, now skip or snap to the center, which is going to be here. Do the same thing on this side and snap to the middle. Awesome. So we're going to do the same thing we previously did. Select it, chamfer it, and it's still keeping the same settings, 1.1 with 2, so that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and attach them together. Select this face, delete it, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Delete. Go ahead and bridge them together like this. Let's see if we can play with a twist, if that is going to fix it. Yep, this is better. Add in one extra edge. And the thing with the long polygons, we need to keep it in mind for these ones once we're finished, because what we just did is we just created a couple of very, very long polygons. So we're gonna have to clean that thing up as well. So let's just go over. Now, first delete this, bridge these together. We have a bit of a twist. Let's see. Much better. There we go. Hold on, shift. Cool. All right. For some reason, this doesn't want to get selected. There we go. Got selected. Now connect. 5. That's okay. It's gonna split it up. And let's do the same thing over here. Edge is fine. Snap in here like that. Snap in there. Move it up. Select this one. Select this one. Chamfer. Same amount. Delete what we don't need. Delete, and let's go in again. Select 8. Delete. All right, bridge. Cool, no issues, no need to do any of the twisting. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Bridge. We do need to twist. There we go. Okay, connect. 5. And now if we take a look at, well, we're still missing this one. All right. Again, the same thing. All right. I probably will need to get these two moving a bit closer because they're way too far. Turn off the constraints. Move. And move. Both of these chamfered. Again, the same thing we did with all of the pipings or all the pipes. Delete. Bridge. All right, cool. Add in one extra. Whoops. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Delete and bridge together. Okay. Hold on, shift. So now when we turn on with the turbo smooth, we're going to see that we get a much better result. Everything is okay. Even the turns in here, they're much cleaner. All right. That's cool. Let's add in just a couple of more. So hold on shift with the shift. 3 in there, get that better turn. 1, 2, and 3. Check the bottom one. 1, 2. 1 and 2. All right. So with this done, we actually have the low poly version of this thing finished. And in the next video, we will see how we can create the high poly version as well as to do the unwrapping of this low poly version. So I hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new here. If you enjoyed the video, then click the like button. And also, if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. If you'd like to support me and the channel, then the support links are below in the description of the video. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.